Anybody in the chat, if I can please get an audio and a video update on the feed. Let me know how the sound is. Let me know how the video is feeding. Hopefully all connections are good. As you're coming in, go ahead and say your formal hellos. It's been a while. Glad to be back. Just give me something. Let me know my sound is clear. Let me know my video is feeding well. And we'll just wait for everybody to pile in for today's live stream of the podcast. And of course, those that are subscribed to the channel are just probably now receiving notifications of the live stream, so we'll give them a minute to pile in. Lisa, how you doing? Glad you could be here. Thank you for tuning in. Thomas, thank you as well. Good to have you back. It's been a while. I haven't made a video in a minute, but been super busy, but I'm glad to be back, definitely. Justin, how you doing, my friend? Glad you could be here. Thank you for stopping by. Steve Sanchez, my friend, good to see you. Glad you could be here. Not much is going on. Got a big announcement. I wanted to make a podcast just for it, and of course I wanted to live stream it because there's nothing better than a live stream of some big news. That way we can get the interaction in the comment section. So I'm excited to do that for you guys tonight. Pete, my friend, glad you could be here. Thank you for stopping by. Long time no speak, man. Glad you could be here. All right, so we'll just wait for some more people to pile in here. Wow, we're already at 17 people. Great, glad people could be here for that. More likes. I definitely need more likes. You guys got to go ahead and like the video so that way the YouTube logarithm thing can algorithm can do its thing where it like notifies more and more people and they can tune into the live stream. So go ahead and like the video for me. Chance, glad you could be here. Thank you for stopping by. Not much going on. Actually got a big announcement. I wanted to live stream it, so here we are. And you are here, so thank you for stopping by. You know what, Pete? I got the email. That's something we're probably going to be looking into. I think it's interesting, and actually might address it this week in a video, so stay tuned for that. Jamal, welcome. Thank you for being here. Good to see you, my friend. Justin playing spoiler. Oh no, Justin, don't do that. All right, let's see what we got for people. We've got 18 people here in the chat. It's fantastic. Let's see here. Who else is in the chat? All right, so roll call. We got Thomas. We got Lisa. We have Justin. We have Steve. We got Pete. We got Chance. We got Jamal. It's a good group. Glad you guys could be here. Thank you so much for stopping by. I think we'll just go ahead and get started here, just with an update on the channel. I haven't been doing much for videos. It's been hard to find time lately, but school is letting out next week. We got Christmas break up and coming, so I'll be more available to, of course, do more update videos and get the latest carrier news out to you guys. So I'll be excited to be doing that over the holidays. Also, my fall semester ended for my master's courses, so I'll have a lot more time to make videos, digging up a lot of the information that's going on in the carrier world. So I'll be around to make you guys some good content, keep you updated, and of course, check out the Patreon page. We've got some good stuff on there, some stuff on there that actually doesn't make it to the YouTube channel, and yeah, it's definitely worth a look for sure. All right, so without further ado, I'll go ahead and get into the news. That probably is enough time to wait for people to pile in and we can address the issue. And as I'm kind of going through some of the news, of course, you guys can chime in and give your opinions, give your thoughts, and let me know what you think on the update. So, of course, this video specifically is about the Sprint and T-Mobile merger. We haven't really heard much about the merger lately. It's been pretty quiet. The only thing we knew recently was as of December 4th, the 180-day clock had resumed. And of course, that being the case, that's good. If you're pro-merger, if you're T-Mobile or Sprint, you're happy to see that because it obviously means that there's going to be some progression. And in this case, we actually have even better news if you are pro-Sprint and T-Mobile merger. So this update, just to kind of confirm what we're finding reports, I've heard Readers was reporting this, I've heard CNBC reporting this. So when the news broke and we got news of it, we got confirmation from multiple sources. So this is credible. This is official. This is real. So it's not hearsay, she say. It's just, this is considered fact. So the big news is the U.S. Security Council is expected to approve the Sprint T-Mobile merger, and we're expecting that at some point next week. So things happening kind of swiftly in terms of the approval. I'll explain why there is actually a bit of a holdup in this particular situation. So T-Mobile and Sprint have to be approved by a few governing bodies. They have to be approved by the FCC. The merger has to be approved by the DOJ, and it also has to be approved by the U.S. Security Council. In this case, for this update, this does pretty much indicate that the U.S. Security Council is going to go ahead and give the okay from their side. They're saying that the merger is good from their end, and they're going to allow it to go ahead and proceed. And all that's really left is the DOJ and the FCC. Now, in terms of the details of the announcement, there is one condition that the U.S. Security Council is setting for the merger from their side. They are saying that the combined carrier, the new T-Mobile, is not allowed to use any networking equipment supplied by and or manufactured by the company Huawei. For those of you familiar with Huawei, Huawei is a Chinese manufacturer. They make smartphones. They make 4G LTE and 5G equipment. They make all types of different hardware, including system on a chips, processors. They make a whole bunch of stuff. They're a huge company. In fact, they're one of the biggest in the world when it comes to smartphone technologies and network technologies. Yasmin, really? Yasmin, don't say anything. All right. So under this condition, the new T-Mobile is going to have to. Yasmin. All right, everybody, say hi to Yasmin. Say hi to my friends, Yasmin. No. Say hi. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Yasmin. You gotta go, okay? Okay? Ready? Go sleep. Look, everybody's saying hi, Yasmin. Say hi. Say hi. All right. Here. Go. Go. All right. Anyways, before we were interrupted. All right. So, according to these conditions, T-Mobile and Sprint as a new merger is not going to be able to use any type of Huawei technology in terms of moving forward with the company. So neither T-Mobile nor Sprint actually use Huawei equipment currently, so they're good on that level. However, the Sprint parent company, SoftBank, and as well as T-Mobile's parent company, Deutsche Telekom, they both actually utilize Huawei technologies for their networking equipment. So they're probably, in order to comply with this request by the U.S. Security Council, they're going to have to switch their focus from using Huawei as a supplier for their network equipment. They're going to have to focus on Nokia and Ericsson, because they're really the only two that could really provide the infrastructure for what Deutsche Telekom as well as SoftBank require in terms of running their networks. So internationally, I think this has huge implications. I think for the U.S. now it does. Huawei's definitely going to be at a disadvantage because obviously they're trying to move forward as a company and have a North American impact, but it looks like the U.S. is, at least from a political standpoint, the U.S. government is not going to allow it. Here we have the Security Council basically saying it's too risky. There's several different things at play here. So in terms of the approval of the security panel, it looks like they're really adamant about this. They're not going to allow Huawei to be involved. Here comes some U.S. politics in this. In terms of the networking hardware, they're going to have to figure out a different supplier. Like I said, Nokia and Ericsson come to mind. Now, in terms of financials, the merger actually is in good shape. I think from what I understand, Sprint and T-Mobile are both ready to go, and they look like they're in pretty good shape, especially from the T-Mobile side. All is well there. I think in terms of the approval of the merger, it looks like it's good from this end, from the Security Council. We're probably looking at an April to June official announcement for when the merger will be granted and they'll be allowed to proceed. So the FCC and the DOJ are the last two remaining last two remaining parties that need to allow the merger through, and this is good progress for the merger. Now, in terms of the actual network between Sprint and T-Mobile, once they do this combination, uh, you know, it's being estimated that LTE speeds are going to be really fast. In fact, they're saying that the network is going to be doubling in speed. They're saying within 3 to 4 years, the network will be very, very capable of handling a lot of capacity. I'm actually hearing rumors of a lot of markets receiving greater than 300 megahertz of spectrum. And I have been hearing also some rumors, and these are pretty sturdy rumors. They're saying that TV over LTE is a very strong possibility within a few years. So we know that T-Mobile's purchased Layer 3 TV, and they're promoting it very consistently and very in a very aggressive manner. They're letting people know that, hey, we've got this TV service. Within a short span, Sprint and T-Mobile, as this new combined company, will be able to deliver nationwide TV over LTE, based on these market by market provisions. So this is really interesting. And actually, I don't know if this rumor is as solid as the TV one. I'm hearing that the new T-Mobile has the potential to create an MVNO with a cable company. So, all of this is going on, and I think this indicates how much potential is there once T-Mobile gets its hands on Sprint spectrum. Their assets are so valuable that the 2.5 gigahertz gives them so much flexibility and so much capacity that I think really that's the most important thing to T-Mobile. Now, another big thing for the merger is also the prepaid side. What is T-Mobile going to have to divest? What is Sprint going to have to divest? We're not really sure what's going to come of that, but that seems to be a big hang up as well. The DOJ is definitely looking into the prepaid side. They don't want to see, too much of the prepaid side being stuck in this merger. And then, of course, the United States public doesn't have much for options, and they don't see the flexibility in their consumer spending and what they can receive in terms of competition. So in terms of the network, T-Mobile's going to be sticking to their backbone, their network. There's probably going to be a huge shutdown of a lot of Sprint sites because of redundancy. There's obviously going to be Sprint sites that are really close to T-Mobile sites, or within the same site. You won't have to maintain the Sprint hardware per se. So they can shut that down, but they can allocate the assets that they feel suitable that'll help the network perform in those markets at its most efficient and most effective way. So it's all about capacity. It looks like this merger is strictly for making the network stronger, making it faster, allowing more throughput, getting more users to use the network, and expanding the company as one big third carrier. And according to the U.S. Security Council, all is good on their end. They're going to go ahead and approve it as long as they're not going to be utilizing any Huawei networking technology, and they're going to force Dutch Telecom as well as SoftBank, the parent companies of the merger companies, they're telling them that they can't use the equipment either. So while that is kind of a big stipulation, it's not it's not unreasonable to do it. I don't see why SoftBank or Dutch Telecom wouldn't comply if they want to see the merger go through. So, shifting over to Nokia and Samsung and Ericsson solutions might be feasible for them. So we are expecting an actual official announcement from the U.S. Security Council at some point next week. Again, I'll keep you guys posted here on the channel whenever I get the official news. So I'll make a video or I'll make a post just so you guys know what's going on there. And just keep in mind that even though this is the U.S. Security Council, that's only one of 3 parties that need to approve the merger. We're still going to have to wait for the FCC, and we're still going to have to wait for the DOJ. And I think the FCC is probably not going to get in the way of the merger. I think, if anything, the only governing body that's slowing it down by any means is the DOJ. And of course, T-Mobile and Sprint just have to convince them to let it happen, and it doesn't look like that's going to take too much. They've just got to comply, provide the documentation, and they should go ahead and allow it. So that's everything we know right now about this particular announcement, with the U.S. Security Council set to approve the merger next week. I haven't really looked in the comment section. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'll read some of your comments, and of course we can kind of just go from there. All right, so some comments here. We have Chance Orman says, personally, I want T-Mobile to merge with Sprint. I think, Chance, a lot of people feel the same way as you do. I think a lot of Sprint customers actually probably feel just like you do. Then there's probably some T-Mobile customers as well, because this would allow them to have more capacity on the network and the potential for the TV side to really take off for T-Mobile. Let's see here. Thomas says there's an article that I read through that the merger would happen next week. So Thomas, I think you're probably talking about this particular announcement. The article, I think, originally came out of Readers, and then it also came through CNBC. So it's not that the approval for the merger officially goes through next week. It's that the governing body, the U.S. Security Council, they're going to go ahead and allow it to be okayed from their end, which is only one of three governing bodies. Mark, glad you could be here, buddy. Thank you for stopping by. Darian Tunstall, thank you for being here, buddy. Glad you could spend some time here in the live chat. Let's see here. Darian says, I can't wait for the new T-Mobile. You know, the new T-Mobile has a lot of potential. I'm actually more excited about the TV implications because, you know, as somebody who purchases streaming services, it could be something to consider, especially when you start bundling services with wireless and the TV side. Yeah, Mark, you know, you said the parent company said today that they're going to stop using the equipment from Huawei. I also heard that. There was one report saying that they had no comment, and there was another report saying that they were okay with a discontinuation of using Huawei manufactured networking technology. So I'm guessing that it is okay with them. They're going to comply. They want to see the merger go through. Obviously, it's to their advantage. So I think they're going to go ahead and comply to it. But like I said, we don't know who the new vendors are going to be. We don't know which manufacturers they're going to use. But Ericsson, Nokia, Samsung, I mean, there's some other big players there. So it's not like there won't be any suppliers. It just can't be Huawei. So they're going to have to probably, you know, get rid of all of that equipment and get some new manufactured equipment. Let's see here. Pete says, I wonder if SoftBank has a Japanese option for the equipment. Probably. I wonder if they'll stay with that or if they'll go with a European manufacturer. I'm not really sure. Let's see here. Pete says the MVNO would be the TV over LTE. They'd allow competitors on the network that could use the layer 3 compression. And you know what, Pete? That'd be big money. Like, you're paying for space on the network. You're paying for leasing, you know, that capability. I think T-Mobile can really bank on that opportunity. Like become very profitable on that. Because again, you know, with layer 3 TVs technologies, you can compress file sizes, and the streaming service, you can get 4K, you know, just out of like 10 or 12 megabits per second from what I understand. It's supposed to be really, really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route. I think it makes them very profitable, and it really gets them ahead in the TV game. Mark says there was a big coalition put together recently to try to stop the merger. You know what, Mark? I was reading that. It was like C Spire, Dish. You know, these are companies that don't stand to benefit at all from this merger. So I'm not surprised that they formed the coalition, but I do want to say that my personal opinion, I don't think their coalition is going to make enough noise. I don't think it's going to do anything substantial to either slow down the merger or even stop it. I highly doubt it, but I did hear of that coalition actually. Thomas says this would be massive for rural areas in the USA. Yeah, because it gives them TV options. And additionally, we can expect the new T-Mobile to expand its LTE footprint. And of course, 5G becomes a legitimate option in some rural areas. And of course, you know, 5G deployments will probably become accelerated and more concentrated in more markets. So again, you know, T-Mobile becoming more profitable gives them more potential to become more of a legitimate threat to either overtake Verizon and or Sprint. Pete says, I would like to see if they could give a second option for the rural areas. A lot of places seem to have either AT&T or Verizon. And even with AT&T and Verizon, apparently the companies have been lying a ton about their LTE footprints. So Verizon was caught lying, the FCC caught them in that. T-Mobile's been lying about their footprint. So, you know, maybe they can stop exaggerating their coverage and actually provide a legitimate rural coverage area map that is accurate and does provide more expanded coverage there. Pete says, I could go either way as a T-Mobile customer. I just don't want the Bell sisters to get the Spectrum. Man, you ain't lying. Now, if that was to happen with a, I don't think the Spectrum is going to be given up. I think all the Spectrum is going to stay with T-Mobile. I think that's their key end game in this. Like, that's what they need in order to do what they want to do with TV. The prepaid side, I think, has potential to be one of the things that are divested by T-Mobile. T-Mobile has said that they don't want to divest anything. I just don't see that as being realistic. They're going to have to give up something. I think the DOJ is going to ensure this, and I think the FCC is going to kind of reinforce this. But we'll have to wait and see. Darian says, will everything stay the same with T-Mobile, such as caller tunes and unlimited plans? I love T-Mobile. I don't know about the caller tunes, honestly, as a feature, but the unlimited plans are pretty much set in stone. They're usually good about grandfathering people as well, so I don't see that being an issue. Captain MC7 says, as a Sprint customer, T-Mobile's coverage is highly needed. Sprint's LTE speeds and coverage sucks as it is. Yeah, Sprint's got some issues in certain markets. You know, they don't necessarily have, you know, the most capacity in some places. Their speeds are kind of slow. And in other markets, maybe it's just coverage. This should definitely give a boost to customers that are using the Sprint network, and it should benefit them on a couple of different angles, both in coverage and capacity. Nobody likes seeing their phone in 3G, and T-Mobile obviously has a better 4G LTE footprint than Sprint does. But combined, it has the potential to be even better for sure. Mo, what up, man? What's going on, buddy? Glad you could be here. Let's see here. Pete says the only company not caught lying about their network was Sprint. Isn't that crazy? The company that we bash all the time for having probably the worst coverage, the worst speeds, the least performing of all the networks, was the only one, I guess, keeping it real about their network. So very, very ironic in that, I guess. You got it, Darian. Thank you for tuning in, man. Glad to answer your question. So Mo says, are they merging? Well, the U.S. Security Council is giving them the okay to merge. So that's one of the three governing bodies making any decisions on the merger. We're still waiting on word from the FCC. We're still waiting on the DOJ to go ahead and do its thing in terms of assessing what needs to be either divested or what needs to be scrutinized or what needs to be questioned. So we have some, you know, concrete news from the, you know, Security Council that they're giving it the okay. Captain MC7 says, I've used T-Mobile's extended LTE a few times and it's been way better. Yeah, so anywhere where, you know, T-Mobile has band 71 support and you've got a device that can actually utilize that particular band, you know, coverage seems to be really good. It seems enhanced, and speeds are usually pretty good on that band as well. But again, you need a newer device, and some people are still pushing, you know, legacy devices that, you know, could be a year or two old, and they just don't have the compatibility with that band. So as more people get newer smartphones, they'll get more compatibility on the network by having band 71 capabilities there. Mark says there was so much backlash about the $15 charge to change phones that they backed off. So Mark, you're talking about the Metro by T-Mobile when they were charging $15 every time you wanted to switch SIMs. I made a video about this a few weeks ago, and I didn't make a video to kind of update it, but I did make a post. So for those of you that saw the post, this is just kind of a review of that. So Metro, due to the backlash and due to the, you know, the I guess not so much popularity to the move, they actually retracted the $15 SIM swap charge that they had going on. Now, in and of itself, the $15 charge, for somebody that maybe only switches their SIM like once every couple years or something, like they don't change phones, this is not a big deal. But for somebody that reviews phones, or for somebody that possibly, say, switches between two phones or travels, that's going to be a headache, because $15 every time you switch is going to rack up a lot of fees. So if you switch a couple phones every month, maybe you review stuff, you know, I can think of reviewers, or maybe you break a phone, you want to use a new one, and you got one laying around, they're going to charge you every time you switch your SIM. So this was not popular. Customers are really pissed off about this, and of course a lot of people really made a vocal announcement that they didn't like it, and Metro backed off and they retracted it. They got rid of the fee. I didn't hear any type of formal apology or anything like that, but the people spoke, and I think it's channels like mine, and it's It's subscribers and viewers like you guys that made it abundantly clear that you weren't willing to pay that fee and you were willing to switch, because ultimately we know that the companies only do something when customers speak with their wallets. So if you're willing to move your money from one carrier to another, the carrier will listen to you. That's really the best way to do it, and you guys did a great job of it. I know there are some people saying, "Oh, this is not a big deal. It's just 15 bucks. You know, who cares?" How do you justify the $15 charge though? It's more like a principle. I mean, many of you out there can afford a $15 swap fee, but you shouldn't have to. It's really not that kind of service, and you shouldn't be charged for something so simple. So I think it was the principle of it. I think a lot of people were in agreement that it was wrong. You let your voice be heard, and Metro responded. So I actually want to give props to Metro for listening to their customers and retracting the $15 fee. But again, it was a bad decision to do it to begin with, and I want to commend all the viewers out there and those that spoke up against the $15 swap fee. So I guess a victory for the consumer nonetheless. Matt, glad you could be here. Matt McDonald, thank you for tuning in, buddy. Would you consider this as T-Mobile buying Sprint, even though it's a merger? Matt, definitely this is T-Mobile buying Sprint. But the problem is T-Mobile's also buying Sprint's debt. So T-Mobile has to think to themselves, is the acquisition of Sprint and its debt, but also its assets and spectrum, is it worth the trouble? And apparently, based on the potential in the TV side and the 5G side, they see it as a win-win situation, with just them having to probably figure out a way to, you know, try to overcome some of that debt. I mean, the last I checked, I think Sprint's debt was like 36 billion, something like that. So that's a lot, and it's a lot of debt to overtake, but I mean, who knows? The 5G side could become very profitable to the point where maybe 10 years from now, this debt is erased. Maybe the TV side does it for them. We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Captain MC7 says, as a Sprint customer, I've been using T-Mobile's coverage outside of Sprint's coverage. The speeds are great, but I noticed T-Mobile's ping is always higher. Any idea why? It's because you're roaming. It's as simple as that. Once they see that you're on a roaming connection, they're going to drop your connectivity speed. Your latency is going to go up, and of course your experience, while is going to be sacrificed, you at least have some coverage. So give a little, take a little kind of situation. Pete says, I bashed customer support on T-Mobile on that a few times. It may have helped. Yeah, nice job, Pete. We appreciate you doing that, speaking on behalf of the customers there. Lena, hi. Glad you could be here. Glad you are watching. Darian says, caller tunes is music people listen to while calling you instead of the regular ring. It's awesome. Oh, I remember that feature. Never really used it, but I have called people and heard the music. Mark says, it was a total money grab. Yes, it was. And I'm not really sure why they decided to do it. I don't know what they expected, but usually customers that are prepaid customers are very, very smart about how they spend their money. They're not going to be happy about that. So I don't know what their expectation was. Kenneth Espinosa says, I have Sprint, T-Mobile. I had to cancel. T-Mobile was too expensive. $500 to pay to cancel. Did not have the money to pay it. Will Sprint change the name to T-Mobile? So, yeah, Kenneth, to answer your question, it will be the new T-Mobile. It's going to be T-Mobile. I don't know how exactly they're going to market it, but there will be no residual effects of the Sprint name. That'll be over. So it'll just be the new T-Mobile, whatever it is. Renardo says, they still charge the $15 fee if you have to speak with an agent. Only free if processes through the automated system. Okay, well, that's good to know. It's good to know that there is an automated system to do it. And it's good to know that you can bypass the $15. Let's see here. All right, so that covers everything from the announcement. I didn't really want to spend too much time on it. I wanted to just kind of announce it, do a live stream podcast to see what your guys' thoughts and opinions are. So, whether you watch this live and you gave your comments or you're watching this on replay, go ahead and comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think of the big news coming from the U.S. Security Council. They are going to go ahead at some point next week. They're going to approve the merger, Sprint and T-Mobile, on their side, the U.S. Security Council. So good news, again, if you're into the Sprint and T-Mobile merger. Bad news if you don't want to see the merger happen. So this is a step in the right direction for the merger. Steve Sanchez says T-Mobile will pay down the debt with Spectrum lease deals. They will have lots of Spectrum. You know what, Steve? I think T-Mobile understands that, their biggest gain in this merger is going to be the Spectrum. They obviously are happy to take, Boost and the prepaid side. I mean, it's all money. But it's definitely it's really about the Spectrum and the potential that they can have with the network. Pete says caller tunes are $5 a month. LOL, not that into it. Yeah, anytime you got to pay for something, it's not as good as the free version. So, yeah, definitely agree. All right, so that's pretty much it for this announcement. I'm not really sure if there's anything left to cover. I'm going to have, excuse me, guys, I'm going to have a video up and coming this week. It's probably going to be early Monday or in the afternoon. So I'll have it. I'll probably have it uploaded and viewable for you guys in the evening, early evening. I don't know. There's some news from Verizon. There's some news from AT&T. A little bit from T-Mobile and Sprint. There's been some action with FCC. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet up until this point. So Micah says the merger is going to be approved by the United States and will be a strong number 3. Micah, it looks more and more like the approval of the merger is pretty much inevitable. I know the percentages, like analysts have been saying, that the percentages and the likelihood of the merger going through and happening has been increasing over the months. So a lot of people said when it first was proposed and Sprint and T-Mobile came to the agreement, they kind of put it at a 50-50 chance of it happening. And then, within the first couple months, a lot of analysts kind of boosted up. They said 60-70%. And then over the last month, the merger has really had some positivity. They're not really seeing any snags or holdups. They've been leaning towards more like 80-90% approval rating for it. So, it looks like it's likely and it looks like it's going to happen. And the U.S. Security Council is cool with it as long as Huawei is not going to be the provider of the equipment to Dutch Telecom, SoftBank, or the new T-Mobile as it's proposed in the merger. So that's pretty much it. Mark, thank you for tuning in, man. Good night. Good to see you here, and thank you for participating in the live chat. Let's see here. M. Kelleher, glad you could be here, buddy. The big news is the U.S. Security Council is expected to approve the T-Mobile and Sprint merger next week. So there are a couple of details there. Just like stated just a second ago, that the equipment manufacturer Huawei is kind of the deal breaker here. The U.S. Security Council is basically saying we can't have the risk of the espionage, we can't have the risk of the political, sneaky backdoor action from Huawei from the China side. So they're saying that Sprint and T-Mobile, Deutsche Telekom, as well as SoftBank are not allowed to use any Huawei equipment for their network technologies. They're saying if they comply with that, then they'll allow the merger to go through on their end. So we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens. And it looks like the companies are okay with it. They're on board. Let's see here. Edward, Alex, long time no see, my friend. I am so glad to see you here in the live chat. Ellie's in the house. Ellie, hi. It's good to see you here. Glad you could tune in. Give a special shout out there. It's been a while. I don't know. Ellie, I forget how old you were. But it's good to see you here nonetheless. And Edward, of course, thank you for being here. Dave, what's up, buddy? Glad you could be here. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else I wanted to cover. But that's pretty much it. It was that one announcement. Micah says the bad news is that some of the guys on the retail side will lose their jobs, but other than that, I support the new T-Mobile. Yeah, anytime there's a merger and acquisition, Micah, you're totally right. There's going to be casualties when it comes to jobs. The redundancies of the stores, doesn't make sense to pay double the rent, doesn't make sense to have extra leases, doesn't make sense to pay all the employees. So, there's going to be tens of thousands of jobs cut here, and that is unfortunate, but it does look like that's the way it's progressing. Ellie, I am real. I promise I am real. Look, I'm pinching myself. Ellie, see, I'm real. Pete says it'd be cool if they made the Sprint stores layer 3 stores. I mean, if the layer 3 stores were needed, right? Like if they wanted to have dedicated TV retail stores or customer service stores, right? People could come in with hardware issues. People could bring in modems, boxes, whatever they did for the TV side or even the wireless side. Maybe something like that. That would be cool. And they don't have to replace every store with one of those, but, strategically through geography, like, where would they position them? That would be kind of nice. Edward Alex says, you owe me a shirt. I won the bet. I've been losing a lot of bets lately, man. I've been losing bets in fantasy football. I've been losing bets in everything. I gotta stop betting, man. Cut my losses. Let's see here. Pete says, oh, I'd work at as a customer service store. LOL, repair is fun. Yeah, I really enjoy the repairs myself, and the customer interaction is always fun. For sure. Now, M. Kelleher, I do want to clarify something. The Sprint and T-Mobile merger approval is only on the U.S. Security Council side. The FCC still has to approve. The DOJ still has to approve. We're not expecting anything until April, May, June, like sometime in the middle of next year. So hold your horses, pump the brakes, but it is a step in the right direction. They do have the okay from the U.S. Security Council side. So one of the three authorities is kind of, saying it's all good with us. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. For those of you, rewatching this at a later time, go ahead and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comment section below. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I got to get up for work in the morning. So that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything I wanted to. So that's it. I'll let you guys go. I'll let you do the rest of the things that you do on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your time here this weekend. I hope you guys have a good one. Hopefully the weather is good where you are. Hopefully you're not getting bombarded by snow. Should have a video for you guys early next week, so stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't done so already. Also, ding the bell to be notified whenever I upload new content. This is Sneed from Sneed Mobile Tech, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.